Hello there. Can you hear me? Haha, you can. Alright, let's just do some of that beginning stream setup. There we go. Cause Billie Jean is not my lover. Wait, no, I can't be singing that. That's gonna be very bad on my end. Let me just figure out all the little beginning stream stuff, and then we will have the time of our lives. Woo-hoo-hoo. It's gonna be so fun once we figure this out and how this all works. Just give me a second, and we are rolling. Okay, guys. Hello. Hi. So, I have something to say to you, right? Everyone has this thing called a grandparent. Whether they're alive or dead, that's really up to, them. I'm kidding. Basically, grandparents, they like to tell the stories, right? And one of the stories they like to tell is how much this generation has it so easy with your, what do you call them? Like buses, driving to school in cars, and longer cars that are called buses. Yeah. Right? No, I don't know what I'm talking about. But they always like to talk... Sorry, I have a lingering cough. But they like to talk about how this generation has it so much easier than all the other generations. And how they walked to school differently than us. And one of the claims they like to make as they walked to school and back is that they had to walk uphill there and uphill back home. What is the physics of that? The logistics, how does it work? I mean, let's say you have a hill with a house on one side and a schoolhouse on the other side. You can walk uphill there, but the house, it's still at the top of the hill. If you want to get to the school at the bottom of the hill, you still have to walk downhill. Even if there were two hills, physically, the house is going to be on the top. It's higher than the school, so you can only get down from the house to a lower part of the city where the school is by walking downhill. So, how do you do this? How can you have two items like this? One of them, you have to walk uphill there, and you have to walk uphill to the other spot. How do you do this? And that's what we're going to be trying to figure out once I release my cat from, her scary little confinements of the room, because she so desperately wants to get to the door. Isn't that right, baby? Meow. Alright. Out you go. Alright, so how is this gonna work? So, let's figure this out. So, let's say we have a 2-story house, like this. It's a nice, big, tall house. And then, I don't know how to represent school, so I'm just going to draw a square and write book on it, or, I don't know, a pencil or something. Let's say we have a hill that goes like this, and then we have another hill at the top story of this that goes like that, also uphill. So you start at the bottom of the house, and you could walk uphill to the school, and then you can walk up a second hill that also goes uphill to the top story of your house. That seems like it should work, right? Right? This means that the school has to be just as tall as... Wait, does the house have to be just as tall as the school then? You have to go like this and then like that. But here's the question. Why would you choose the second hill? The first hill, you have it like this. Then you have the second hill like that. Why would you choose to not just go on one of these hills? In fact, you could walk downhill both ways using that exact same way. Why would you start over here and walk to school from the top of your house and then here just walk to school from the bottom of the school? Why can't we just do that instead? So that creates a bit of a problem. We need to have it so that way no matter which way you turn the tables, the grandparents, they're always walking uphill no matter how much they want to go downhill, because humans like to take the easiest and most efficient option. So obviously this method, it doesn't work of having two hills. Well, alright then, what else can we do? Here's another idea. How about, let's say we have the house, and we have the school, and let's say we have a hill, like that goes like that, uphill. And how about we have, I'm going to choose a light blue color. How about at the end of each day, by the time you get home to school, a layer of snow falls here, changing the terrain and making this going uphill. That way we still have two hills, but only one hill can exist at a time. Then, so you've started the morning of your day walking from the bottom of your house, and you've walked up the hill to the school. Then the snow falls, and then you go and you walk up the hill again to your house. But, oh no, you'll need a bigger house now, so that way you could do that whole second story thing that we saw over here. How are we going to make this work? Well, so we'll need the second story from the other problem, and we'll need to bring it over here. And then, wait, oh shoot, I forgot to tell you on my explanation, right. So you walk back up here to the second story, which we'll figure out the logistics of that in just a second. Then what's going to happen is the snow is going to melt, so that's only this hill again, and then the next day you do that, and the whole process repeats over and over and over again. But is that even possible? I mean, let's say we have a house here, right? And then we have an equally tall school building. Let's add like little tower that they have with like a bell, so we know it's a schoolhouse, not a regular house. Nice rectangle I drew there, isn't it? And let's see. We have, and then it's split into 2 stories each. So let's say we start at the bottom of the first story, and we reach to the second story with hill 1. Then hill 2 falls from the top of hill 1 to, and it's going to somewhere on the second story of the second story of the first of your house. So that way we'll need what do you call it again? What is it? What would you need? Darn it, I forgot. Oh, this needs to be going at a lower angle, otherwise we'll just go right to the top of this house, and how are you going to get down from the roof of the house every single time? It's going to be annoying, especially if this entire part of your house is going to be covered in snow, and we can probably say the same for this area. The only way to enter your house would be from the top, and that's probably going to be really annoying to have to go walk at the top and go down to the ground. Plus, let's say you have a car too, right? Is that just going to fall down as the snow melts? No, it's too much. It's too hard to have a hill that goes all the way to the roof. It's so weird to think about how that would even be happening. So the hill's going to be going at a lower angle. Are we all good with that? So we have this snow hill over here. Or let's just call it hill 2 for simplicity's sake. Hill 2. And this seems to work, right? I mean, you have this works, right? But let's think about the actual snow. Could snow actually fall in this way and then melt by the next day so you don't see it? So let's recreate this point A and point B again. So we have point B over here. That's a really weird looking B. Point B and point A. We're trying to get from point A to point B uphill, and then from point B to point A uphill. So we have the regular hill going like this. This hill has to stay here. It isn't moving everywhere, so we're gonna fill it in to show that it's gonna stay here once I find the fill bucket, right? That hill there is always going to be here. It's the snow hill that constantly changes. It'll come in and it'll come in like that. Or how would it come in? It would just go on top, right? It wouldn't like sink. So we have a hill like that. That's our snow hill. And it'll keep melting and reappearing and melting and reappearing and melting and reappearing as time goes on. But is it possible for snow to fall in this way that we see it? Well, let's see. If you have let's say you have a flat surface, right? Or where's the black? There you go. So you have a flat surface, and let's say that snow is falling on said surface, right? Let's make a big thing of snow right here. And this is snow. Let's fill it in. Right? Let's say the snow was falling onto the ground that way, right? So, I don't know what I'm trying to prove here. Alright. This is the... God, where's the black? Okay. This is the ground, right? And let's say the snow is falling. It'll fall like that. Well, can we always guarantee that the snow would fall not evenly, right? Because this area has to be higher than that. I mean, let's think about it to this example, right? There's more snowfall right here than snowfall over here. These two places have to be so far apart that the snowfall is drastically different from one end to the other. But does it have to be drastic? I mean, let's say we have, a house and we have the school. We can just do it for the slight incline. And then just a slight incline. That should be enough, right? This is hill 1, this is hill 2. Is that enough of a hill to be called uphill? Or is it still flat ground? I mean, what is the rule on how much of a hill has to be up for it to be considered uphill? Well, let's look at triangles here. Anything that makes a 180 angle is considered flat ground. Anything that makes a slightly bigger angle would be making if something's going uphill, if you're walking up it that way, and we look at this angle measurement, or how do you do this? I don't know. I don't know how math works. If you have an uphill, and if we know this is 180, we only have this much of the angle, so we're erasing that much of the angle. Right? So it has to be something that's over 180 degrees. I should probably have specified that. But it has to be over 180 degrees. So we know that. Both hills have to be. So what if we have everything be a 180 degree tilt? Then the temporary hill falls, and it creates another 181 degree tilt. So the difference here would practically be the same, right? No, because this is 181 degrees that way, right? It's barely a hill. And this one is also just barely a hill. They're practically flat ground. I mean, let me see how much this is. So let's say that's a flat ground. Let's say that's slightly going uphill. Let me just move this all, right? It's barely going up. And we have another piece of flat ground. That's just barely going up. The difference in the snow is going to be so minuscule. The snowfall probably has to be so tiny, the difference between them. But then you think about it. Let's say this is starting from a low and it's going to a high. This is starting from that same high and it's going to a new high. Even if that new high was right on top of this, this high is still higher than that. So it's still going downhill. But let's see, what if the difference between that low and high is so little that even though it's part of that same high, it's still technically uphill both ways? Right? That checks out. So what's this difference here? How big is this difference? How much taller do we have to be than the original for it to be considered uphill? Well, we know it has to be at least over 181 degrees to be considered uphill, technically. So if we know that this is traveling at 181 degrees, let's just put that down. And we know this is also traveling at 181 degrees. I don't know enough math to figure out the difference between those two things. If we put a 101 degree, okay. If we put a 101 degree line over another 101 degree line, let's see if I could draw a straighter line. If we put a 101 degree line over another 100 degree line, is that difference going to be enough? Well, I have no idea. I don't know math that well. Let's see. So this we can call point. Can we call this point 0? This is point. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not that smart. I don't know math. Those number magics, those fancy words. I don't know. All we know is that this point equals A, and this point equals point A plus X, and this is point 0 where they meet up. This is the point where this is point A plus X, and this is point A plus X plus Y, because it's higher than that, right? Is it? I'm not sure. I can't use letters in math. This is so complicated. Let's see. What do we do here? Right. Well, I can assume that if both of them are going at the minimum of 181, which is the most we can assume that the most reasonable number of snowfall is going to be the smallest amount, since it's hard to find consistently big snowfall all year round. So we can assume that it's going to be the minimum amount of snowfall because, in the summer, you're going to get the minimum amount of snowfall. So we'll solve for the minimum amount of snowfall here. So the difference between this is going to be 0.000 something inches. Like, it's gonna, centimeters for all you non-Americans, but it's gonna be such a minuscule difference that, like, if we're viewing this from an aerial scale, you can probably still see the tufts of grass through it, even though it's snowy, right? And that snow, sure, it might be technically at a higher angle than this, but it's literally a fraction of a fraction of a fraction more, or is it big enough of a difference to say that you walked uphill both ways? Technically, yes, but is it enough to really be a hardship that way, right? Is it enough for this extra level of snowfall that technically makes it uphill to go like that? Well, we have to assume that if let's say the hill is like this, right? That's 181 degrees. I'm just drawing at this steep angle. If we had, for example, let's say if snow fell consistently, even to make it flat, more snow would have to fall over here than over here. So is snow gonna fall that way? I just realized my camera's in the way. Can we assume, there we go, that the snow is gonna fall more over here than here? How big? There's gotta be some big of a difference that's miles upon miles between the school and the house, point A and point B, to make it so that each one has a different regional weather effect that creates different amount of snow here, then a different amount of snow here, then a different amount of snow here. That's going to be hard to consistently do throughout the year. So, okay, we can't expect snow to fall like that all the time, and even if we have the minimum amount of snowfall, it'll barely be enough to create this hill to be uphill. Both of them are going to be practically flat. It's like going like this. It's nothing. So how do we go uphill both ways? Well, how about an artificial hill? So we have a hill going up here. This has the schoolhouse. This has the house. Then, while you're at school, they build another hill. And they build your house on here. Right? Let's make this a bit more of a small scale so you could actually see what's going on. So we have a house. That's a school over here. Then we have, like this, your school's over here, and your house is now there. You have this, your house is now there, your school is now there. And they'll consistently keep building this zigzag of your school and your house continuing to increase and increase. This cycle will continue over and over and over again, where you keep going up higher and higher and higher. And this will mean that an actual construction company, I don't know how to write, is actually going to have to be building those hills with, their hammers or screwdrivers or whatnot. I don't know how construction works. But basically, to go uphill both ways artificially, and for them to continue building a new hill, or maybe we can have one hill that goes uphill, and they build that, and they remove it, and they build that, and they remove it. You could also have something that goes like that. But really, how do we have a house over here and a school over here go uphill both ways? Simply isn't possible. The logistics, the physics. How do you go uphill both ways? I don't know. I'm losing sight of what we're doing. Here, I'll open up all the layers and let's just see how messy it looks. Right? I mean, look at how much we've done here. So much. The snow. I don't know what to do. How can you go uphill both ways? I'll delete all the layers. We don't need them anymore. But how can you have a house and a school over here? Go uphill both ways. I don't know. Say you have a hill. I mean, this will technically be going up both ways, but then you're also going down. I mean, can you count that? It's more like traveling uphill and then downhill and then uphill and then downhill every single time you go to and from school, right? I don't know. Okay. Let's say you are in a forest and you come across 3 doors. Each door is guarded by a small, blind child. Their names are A, B, and C. Behind 2 of the doors is an angry monster who wants to kill you. And behind one of them is a magical crystal that can grant you the powers of the world. Two of them tell the truth. One of them tells the truth, one of them tells lies, and another one is just a mystery. Every time you ask them a question, they roll a dice, and depending on what they roll up, let's say this is 3, they'll switch their rolls 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 times. And they'll keep changing their rolls, and then they'll give you their answer. How do you make sure you get the diamond without triggering any of the monsters to kill you? You have a magic flute. You give this magic flute to child A, who really wants it, who opens their door and kills the monster for you. Then he goes and he opens child B's door, who actually also has a monster in there. They run away with the flute. Child B is eaten by the monster, and child C gives you the diamond. With this diamond, you can find all the answers to the universe, right? So you have this. Let me draw. So you have this diamond that's not a square, or this crystal, and this crystal tells you how to go uphill both ways. But then child C comes back and he wants his crystal back after you stole his crystal from child C, because you didn't properly win it using the rules that they came up with. But because child C is blind, you just tell them that you actually don't have the crystal with you. So child C goes and they leave you alone. They walk away. Then you actually see them walk up a hill that's actually going downhill. And you finally see the light as the crystal has pointed you in the direction of how to solve this hypothetical problem of if your house was on one side and your school was on one side, how could you walk from the house to the school uphill and walk from the school to the house uphill? I'm dying here. I don't know anymore. I don't know. Would this even work? What am I? I'm dying. I don't know. Okay, let's say child A came back, because they didn't actually die. They were simply mauled by a monster that they actually gave all of their power into the Slytherin Horcrux. So that way, when you went and you took the Slytherin Horcrux and his soul came out and attached to the back of your head, this is you, and now child A lives on the back of your head. He tells you what to do, and he tells you that he actually wants the crystal. He says while he plays a flute. I don't know. Oh, and he also doesn't speak your language. You don't know what he's saying. And you go to this. You go back to the 3 doors, and you actually go and you create an alternate timeline that where child B didn't actually die. So here's all your different timelines, that Earth spiral thing that you see a lot of the times. So here's child B, he's dead here, but child B prime, and child B prime prime, and child B prime prime prime, not all of them are dead because, in some of the futures, he was able to fight back, or maybe you didn't give him the flute. So child B comes back to your original universe where child B is alive, and he takes over child B, and he guards his closet and steals the crystal before you can get your answer, and says that it may or may not be behind this door. But you realize that if you actually observe child B to see if he is, if you observe child B to see he's alive, he actually dies because Schrödinger decided that he does. Who is Schrödinger, you ask? I don't know, but he likes putting dead cats inside of boxes, and that's the most I can tell you. So, how do you observe that child B is dead? Well, how does child P prime die? Well, they're put in an alternate Earth. This is Earth prime, and child A is going around the Earth at a X amount of speed, let's say X amount of miles per hour, and child B is also going around the Earth at an X miles per hour. And every time that you observe them, they switch positions, and eventually he'll go this way, and child B goes this way. Actually, I don't know if it's she. The only one that's been confirmed of a gender is C, which has long hair. So obviously we know that child C, prime, because that's the only universe where we have a actually confirmed gender. We know child C is a girl. Anyways, they keep switching positions. They need to know exactly when to switch to be able to not collide as they revolve around the Earth, because if they collide, then they die. You observing child B tells him where he is, but it doesn't tell him where child A is. He assumes child A is an equal distance away from him, but it is... Sorry, I keep using gendered pronouns. My apologies. If I continue to do this, my air conditioning will be turned off. And I live where it's hot during the winter, and we don't want that. So, child B goes and they change their direction by being observed, and they go and they collide with child B in a big kaboomy explosion. Whew, everyone dies. But only child B dies because you observe them. Child A is still alive because you haven't observed to see if they die yet, according to Schrödinger. So child A possesses the body of child A prime. No. This is child A prime here, A prime, and child A prime observes the body of child A, which has died and attached to the back of your head, and they possess the original body, making the Slytherin Horcrux version on the back of your head disappear. So child A prime goes and possesses child A bodies, so now child A body has the thoughts of child A prime. Then what happens is child C discovers time travel. Woohoo, congratulations to them. Here's a machine or something that does time travel. Then they go back in time to stop you from ever seeing those 3 doors labeled A, B, and C with the faces. There we go, they have the bodies. And they stop you from ever seeing that by killing you. You are child G, as a newborn. So that way you die, and all of the spiral universes that were created earlier in that spiral we mentioned actually all disappear. So all's left is the original universe that you lived in, which is also child G. But since child G can only exist with the other universes because the alphabet progresses that way, except in the universe where it doesn't, but the multiverse theory doesn't cover paradoxical situations except in the universes it does, you are actually no longer known as child G, but you are actually just you. Known as you, the protagonist, the person who is viewing the universes in that universe, because not all universes have a main character, including this one. All universes also have superheroes, except in this one where there are only fictional characters. So you end up being killed as a child and never discovering those doors, and you get locked in that Earth spinning thing where you and child G, the one that wasn't killed in the other universes, because not all universes were able to be destroyed in the other universes. Sorry, I'm breathing bad. So you have to make the decision between going around the Earth. You know that you are being observed by another you who is observing you. These are their eyes. And you know that when you're observed, that means you actually shouldn't change direction because you remember child B, was it B or B prime? I don't remember. Dying. So you know to not change, but instead you actually realize that it's random every time, and you end up colliding with child G anyways and exploding. You wake up back in the original universe, the universe where you was alive, and everything returns exactly to the beginning, like the first layer over here, right? So you go and you ask Child A really wants the flute, and they'll do anything to you if you give them the flute. You know that they're telling the truth because of the word truth written above them in black ink. You give them the thing, they kill both of the monsters, stopping Child B from ever dying and initiating the multiverse, and you ask to open the door. So after Child A opened their own door, killed the monster, opened Child B door, killed their monster, but not before it killed Child B, and then they never killed Child B, so they wouldn't be sent to the spinning Earth where they couldn't be observed to die. So they anyways, the multiverses don't exist anymore, and Child C gives you the all-knowing diamond. And now no one really wants the diamond anymore. Was this layer open before? Well, Child C, they don't really want the diamond anymore. But Child A knows that they might because of the other universe before them, so they killed Child C. So now Child C is dead. Child B is not dead because if they were dead, they would initiate the multiverses again. And Child A hands you the diamond, and thanks because you gave them the flute. But now Child A doesn't... What was this? Okay. So Child A, they run off, you never find the other blind children again, who speak in a language that you don't understand, except when they're talking in flutes, or in truths, or in lies, or in the mystery that you don't actually get to know. Then you take this diamond, and you ask the diamond finally how to go uphill both ways. And they finally give you the answer. So if you ever see 3 children guarding the doorway, please ask them how to go uphill both ways. I, in fact, actually did this before the stream and only said all of this for your entertainment. The answer that the diamond has given me is 42. That is how you go uphill both ways. What you do is you take the 4 and you take the 2 and you actually go up the 4 when you're trying to go from your house to the school, and then you go from the school to the house over here because you have 2 houses because your parents got because your dad couldn't keep his hands away from that other woman, and now you have 2 houses that you go between after every other school way. And that is how you can go up the hill both ways. I can't breathe. But then you remember all along that whole entire snow thing and that hill 1 thing that we were talking about earlier, that it doesn't actually have to be exactly 101 degrees. It could be way more than that if you wanted it to. And you realize, but then you also remember that the snow, we can't rely on it to fall in the way it does, or for there to be at least a big of a distance between the school and the house for it to fall the way that it does. Now, where does this lead us? Yes, okay. Anyways, just use 42. That's the meaning of the universe and everything else inside of it after you ask the diamond what else 42 meant. And then you realize that you're so stupid for talking to a diamond. So you go to the original universe with the 3 doors, and you go and destroy that universe where you're actually just a YouTuber explaining to a stream how, like, here's your screen, how to go up a hill both ways. Like, you're drawing with a tablet and you got a mouse in front of you, and now there's a PC. And then your hands over here, and you're explaining to everyone how to walk up a hill both ways using the number 42. That, and that, my friends, is how you walk up a hill both ways. You then delete all the other layers, and you delete the universe that you are actually in, because that was actually an alternate universe where you were just drawing yourself drawing. And, then child A comes back, no, child G comes back, sorry, not A, and they tell you that you are the chosen one, instead of Neville Longbottom, and then pretend that this is a tree, and you can climb this branch, or you can climb this branch, and this is actually a representation of the multiverse, and you actually learned quantum mechanic, physics, whatever they're called, you're trying to figure out how to walk up a hill both ways. And you wonder, how did you get in this position? Well, you ask child G that, and they go and take your crystal, and you forget any of this has ever happened. You delete all the layers that you're on, then you come back, and now you're just a door. You're a door. And you become a door to a room, and you're just the door, and then child G comes with their friend child K, whose gender has been confirmed as not a woman, just a man with long hair, and they go and they open this door, and this leads to you becoming Hatsune Miku, with your long ponytails and hair and stuff, and you actually become this anime girl, Hatsune Miku, and then everyone's happy because you get to be an anime girl. But you actually don't like being an anime girl. This makes you sad and frown sometimes. So then you go to your brother, Hatsune Miku G, who's actually dressed up as K right now, the boy who has long hair and looks like a girl. Then they actually go and they revert you back to your original universe with the 3 doors, but all of your memories remain as everything happens. Child A, Child B, and Child C, that all still exist, are no longer blind, and they tell you how ugly you look as Hatsune Miku. And they say that you actually look so ugly, they won't even let you have the diamond. Then you realize that the diamond was behind B's door all along, so B never had to die and initiate all of this, and you all blame B for the problems that he has caused you. And then, you go to a fudge store that also sells candy, but but if you actually look at them, they're physical water molecules that you can hold, because you have become as small as Ant-Man, and Ant-Man is smaller than the molecule, so he can no longer breathe. And this Ant-Man dies as you look at your hydrogen and 2 oxygen in the fudge store that actually sells candy that's actually really just water. They say it's actually just candy instead of fudge. Then you ask the magic dot, but then you know that then you never got your answer of 42. So you still think and think and think about what is 42, because you know the number 42 from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, from the magic computer that told you how magic works. And now you just know 42, and that somehow helps you with your problem of trying to figure out. You actually don't remember, and now you're stuck with the number 42. I think that was actually, and that actually helped you enough because you were actually able to figure out how to walk up the number 4 metaphorically, and that was enough to realize that your grandparents, because Arabic numbers, the Arabic number 4 and the Arabic number 2, they're separate numbers. They actually, neither of them exist during your grandparents' time back in 1907 AD BCE, which actually comes before AD or BCE. And you realize that your grandparents are all liars who can never tell you how to actually properly climb a hill. And that, my friends, is all you need to know about how to climb a hill both ways. Thank you so